Collapse never announces itself with sirens or explosions. Sometimes it begins with something as small as a flicker, just a momentary tremble in the lights before everything goes black. At first, the silence feels temporary. Your walls are still warm. The room still holds the last breath of the modern world. But outside, cold air gathers like a predator finding its moment. Most people don't understand this. Heat is not a natural state. Warmth is a byproduct of a living grid. Gas pumps, power stations, furnaces, thermostats, compressors. The moment those systems die, your house becomes nothing more than a hollow shell surrounded by winter. The temperature inside begins to fall instantly, but you don't notice it yet. Your body heat, your breath, the familiarity of the room hides the truth. You check your phone. No signal. You try the light switch. Nothing. Neighbors step outside in confusion. It feels like an inconvenience. Annoying, but manageable. People assume the house itself will protect them because the walls stood yesterday and the heat worked yesterday. But winter doesn't care about yesterday. In the absence of power, your home becomes a giant heat sink. Every wall, every window, every square meter of air begins hemorrhaging warmth into the night. Insulation slows the loss, but it cannot stop it. Modern houses were never built to operate without electricity. They were built under the assumption that warmth would always be supplied artificially. 2 hours into the blackout, the temperature inside drops by several degrees. You start to feel it in your fingertips. The air grows sharp. You pull on extra layers thinking it will pass. But this is only the beginning. The hidden flaw is already unfolding. Your home is designed to keep you comfortable, not to keep you alive. It obeys physics, not hope. And the physics of a dead grid are merciless. By midnight, comfort becomes memory, and the walls around you begin to betray you. By the second night, the illusion shatters. You begin to understand that your home, your supposed sanctuary, is failing faster than you imagined. The temperature inside has now matched the temperature outside, and you feel it every time you exhale. The vapor hangs in the air like a ghost. Here's the truth most people never learn. Your house is not airtight. It was never meant to be. Modern construction codes prioritize ventilation, air turnover, moisture control, and indoor air quality. That means gaps. Thousands of them. Microscopic seams around windows, under door frames, through outlets, joints, vents, attics, crawl spaces, siding, and roofing. Every one of these gaps becomes a tunnel for cold. And when the grid is gone, the cold doesn't politely knock. It pours in. You start to notice it in behavior. The floor feels like ice even with socks on. The walls feel colder when you touch them. The air inside becomes thick and unmoving. Thermal mass, your floors, drywall, furniture, begins to absorb cold like a sponge. Your home is turning into the very thing it was built to resist. People think winter kills quickly, but the real danger is slow cold. The kind that creeps. The kind that lowers your core temperature degree by degree. The kind that drains your strength while you convince yourself you can tough it out. In collapse scenarios, houses become traps because they create false security. 4 walls give the illusion of shelter, but shelter without heat is simply containment. And containment without warmth is a refrigerator. Your instinct tells you to stay indoors, to huddle, to wait for the grid to return. But collapse removes that expectation. The system isn't healing. No one is coming. The house isn't warming. You now face the first true psychological shift of survival. Your home can no longer protect you. The longer you stay still, the colder you become. The colder you become, the slower you think. The slower you think, the more dangerous the world becomes. By the time you realize the house is killing you, it's already taken too much of your body heat to recover easily. The third day is when the danger becomes invisible. Your body has been burning calories at an accelerated rate, desperately trying to maintain core temperature. But cold creates a slow, calculated kind of fatigue. The kind that doesn't feel like exhaustion, but like numbness masquerading as calm. And this leads to the hidden flaw of winter collapse. Your home accelerates your hypothermia without you noticing. Survivors describe the same pattern. You stop shivering. You feel strangely peaceful. Your mind becomes foggy. You underestimate how cold you really are. You start making quiet, deadly mistakes. This is when collapse takes its first real victims. Not from freezing outright, but from misjudging the cold. The thermal mass of your home, walls, flooring, furniture, has now reached equilibrium with outside temperatures. The house is no longer cooling, it's cold. A static, deep cold that you feel in your bones. You tell yourself maybe the grid will come back. Maybe help is coming. But collapse is not a storm. It is not a temporary outage. It is a structural failure. And structural failure does not reverse overnight. Your core temperature drops another degree. Clothes feel less effective. Your fingers feel slow. You start avoiding movement because it takes too much effort. This is the point where people die inside their homes, sitting upright, fully clothed, convinced they just need rest. But in collapse, rest becomes risk. Stillness is surrender, and the cold is patient. Your house, the place where you once slept warm, now works against you. It is stripping you of calories, clarity, and time. It offers no resources, no heat, no safety, only walls that trap the cold air you exhale. You finally accept the truth. If you stay here, you won't make it another night. You need a plan. You need movement. You need fire. You need insulation that doesn't depend on a dead grid. You need to leave the home before it becomes a coffin. Leaving is harder than you expected. The cold has already drained your coordination, and fear does the rest. Your house may be killing you, but it's familiar. Outside is something different. Open, unpredictable, and unforgiving. Yet staying means certain hypothermia. So you gather whatever layers you have left, wrap yourself in blankets, scarves, hoodies, jackets, anything to trap heat. You realize painfully how unprepared you are. Most people store clothing for comfort, not survival. Thin cotton, casual jackets, nothing designed for a world without warmth. You step outside and the cold hits you like a wall. There is no artificial heat anywhere. No running furnaces, no glowing windows, no hum of civilization. Each breath feels like frost cutting down your throat. Homes around you are dark. Streets empty. Cars frozen in place. You see a few figures in the distance. People wandering, checking, hoping, shivering. Some look lost. Others look defeated. No one looks warm. Your goal is simple. Find shelter that doesn't rely on electricity. That means basements, underground structures, improvised insulation, natural windbreaks, small spaces, easy to heat, materials that trap air and radiate warmth. But the cold has already changed your decision-making. You walk slower. Your thoughts feel sticky. You hesitate at every choice. That's hypothermia working. Not frostbite, not the environment, but the failure of your body to generate enough internal heat to keep your brain sharp. You reach the first structure, an abandoned garage. It's colder inside than outside. Concrete is a terrible insulator. You keep moving. Next, a shed. Slightly better, but full of moisture, gaps, and frost. Not enough to survive the night. Finally, you notice something small and almost invisible. A narrow, old storm cellar door behind a damaged house. Wooden, insulated by snowfall, partially buried. It might hold heat. It might shield wind. Or it might be another trap. Your hands shake as you reach for the handle. The cold waits behind you. The unknown waits below. Survival demands you choose. The cellar is cramped, musty, and pitch black. But the moment you descend, you feel it. Still air, no draft, no wind slicing through openings. It's the first advantage you've had in days. A good shelter is not warm. A good shelter is heat efficient. You search with trembling hands and find old shelves, broken crates, gardening tools, and scattered debris. Everything looks like trash until you remember the first rule of post-collapse heating. Heat comes from trapped air, not from modern systems. So you begin working. You stack crates and boards against the walls to create insulation barriers. You tear apart cardboard boxes and press them into gaps. You spread leaves, plastic, old carpeting, anything that traps air across the floor. You create a small, tight corner space, barely large enough to sit in, but infinitely easier to heat with body warmth. You're building a microclimate, not a room. Then comes fire. Not a big one. That's a mistake amateurs make. You need a controlled heat source, small enough to avoid smoke buildup. A candle, a tin can heater, a small alcohol stove, even a metal cup reacting with fuel tablets. Anything that produces warmth without overwhelming the air supply. You ignite a tiny flame. The cellar breathes with you. Your hands stop shaking. Your breath becomes visible, but softer, slower. This is the first warmth you felt in days. Not comfort, just survival. You wrap yourself in layered materials, trapping heat against your body. The temperature rises by a few degrees. Nearly nothing, but enough to reverse the downward spiral of hypothermia. This is how survivors endure winter collapse, not by heating a house, but by shrinking their world to something heat can fill. Your mind clears. Your body responds. You are stabilizing. But collapse is not static. It's a moving landscape of risks. And as you regain warmth, you begin to hear something you missed before. Footsteps above you. Slow, heavy, not from the wind, not from the cold. Someone else is out there, and they found the same shelter you did. The footsteps move carefully, deliberately, testing the structure above you. They're not random, they're searching. You nearly stop breathing as a shadow crosses the thin line of light under the cellar door. The cold may have forced you out of your home, but now you face another truth of collapse. Warmth attracts life, and life attracts danger. Your tiny flame flickers as you extinguish it, plunging the cellar back into darkness. Your heartbeat fills the silence. You strain to listen. A weight shifts above you. Wood creaks under someone's step. They're trying to decide whether the cellar is worth opening. Maybe they saw your tracks in the snow. Maybe they smelled the heat. Maybe they're just desperate. The worst kind of survivor in collapse isn't violent. It's desperate. And desperation creates unpredictable behavior. You know the psychology. As temperatures drop, rational thought declines. People become territorial, paranoid, aggressive. Some act friendly until they see a resource they want. Others lash out blindly. Cold changes the mind long before it takes the body. You reach for the only tool you have, a metal rod you use to wedge crates. Not a weapon, just leverage. But in collapse, leverage becomes defense. The footsteps stop. Silence thickens. Then another creak, this time farther away. They've moved on, but they'll be back. Everyone in cold collapse follows the same instinct. Find heat, find shelter, find anyone who has more warmth than they do. You relight your small flame. The cellar slowly returns to its fragile microclimate. You're safe for now, but not secure. And that's the truth people never accept until it's too late. Your home becomes an icebox. Your shelter becomes a battleground. And survival becomes a negotiation between cold and fear. You understand now that winter collapse doesn't kill with storms or blizzards. It kills with decisions, with hesitation, with the belief that walls equal safety. Your house betrayed you because it relied on a system that no longer exists. Out here, nothing is guaranteed except what you can build with your own hands. And as the flame steadies, you finally accept the final lesson. Warmth is no longer a convenience. It is the currency of survival.